why do we think Mike McCarthy took his name out of the coaching poll? I think it's what you said. I think that he just kind of, I think he kind of got the feeling that somebody else was being selected, and people make moves to do what they got to do to kind of handle a situation, and
Yeah.
I think he pulled himself out because he knew it was probably going a different direction.
Yeah, and look, I think if we're reporting this strictly from a Mike McCarthy sort of thing, I mean, he probably feels like he was wronged or they didn't handle this search that well. Like, he deserves probably a certain level of respect as a Super Bowl winning coach, and he was being treated as a back burner. Like, yeah, maybe if these other candidates don't work out for you, yeah, we'll definitely arrange this one. No, we promise we will. Never did. I could see him feeling slighted. I mean, the reports started to come out that he was getting disenchanted. I think if you're being treated like you're not a top candidate and you're not a serious candidate, you're going to feel very disenchanted. So no matter which perspective you're coming from it, it's the same end result. The Saints were more serious about other candidates than him, and he eventually withdrew with that being pretty obvious.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that, and then it's just a matter of which side you're looking at it from. I think that the end result stems from the Saints weren't as interested in him as he was in them, and then like you said, I think he's probably upset about it, and I think the Saints are probably like, we feel good about the direction we're going, and we don't want to waste Mike's time unless he is actually the guy. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's probably how they felt about it in the way you said. And look, in the end, yeah, you probably feel a little bit chapped that they didn't even talk to you when you wanted this job.
Yeah.
You wanted to talk to them, and they kind of went with somebody else. And then it probably stings twice as much if that somebody is somebody you fired from your Dallas staff, and he ends up getting the job. That's probably a little bit of a hit too. Like, you're going with this guy, like, really? That's probably how he feels about it. And then the Saints probably just, look, they wanted the young guy. I think the young guy or Rizzy. I think if you're going that plane, it's either get the home run swing and see if you connect, or go to Rizzy. I think those are their options right now, and we'll see how it settles. But yeah, I think that's absolutely a fair portrayal of it. The Saints weren't as interested in Mike McCarthy as Mike McCarthy was in them, and yeah, Mike probably feels a certain type of way about it.
So let's rank the people that withdrew from the Saints job. When people are going to write the history of this, especially if this job turns out bad, they're going to be like, oh, their last coaching search was a disaster. 4 people dropped out on them. How many people really dropped out on the Saints? 2?
All right, well, first thing first, this part of it, like when people write the history of the search, nobody remembers any of this if they got it right.
If they get it right.
Yeah, nobody remembers the circus that the Denver coaching search was a few years ago. Nobody remembers it. Nobody remembers all the people that dropped out, all the people they almost hired. Oh, damn, I guess they have to trade for Sean Payton now. And, man, that was dumb. Who trades for a coach? And then now no one remembers the draft compensation, all the maybes, all the ifs, all the visits. All they know is that there's
In Denver,
Sean Payton and there's
they're
Bo
not
Nix.
constantly talking about Brian Brzee. I can't believe we gave up Brian Brzee for this coach.
Yes, they aren't doing that. They aren't doing that. So first thing first, all this is forgot. You nail it. It's perfect, and it goes on. The real dropouts. I mean, the only one that like really, really dropped out is Joe Brady to me. Obviously, Aaron Glenn, you put him in that same bucket. He didn't want to come down here for the second interview. So 2. Mike Vrabel took a better job. I guess it depends on how you want to look at it.
Other coaches took better jobs. I think Aaron Glenn would have taken a second interview if he didn't get the Jets job.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and Vrabel, if 3 other teams didn't want to hire him, maybe he then would have been like, hey, guys, you're my 4th choice. Still want to talk to me. But, yeah, Brady was a definite. I'm staying as the Bills' offensive coordinator, and I've already done an interview with you guys.
Yeah, I think if you're being fair and you're just being fair, no biases either way, you don't want to make it sound like the worst thing in the world. You don't want to make it sound like a cleanup job. It's 2. I think there's 2 hits here. The 2 real actual hits, Joe Brady and Aaron Glenn. I think those are the 2 hits that you say, like, all right, like they couldn't get what they wanted in these 2 situations that were actually feasible and attainable. Like, Mike Vrabel was never attainable for them, and Ben Johnson was never actually attainable for them. So I'm not saying 4. I never really took Cliff as like a serious candidate. That might be a blind spot on my part. Like, it might be a complete blind spot on my part, but I don't think he was a serious candidate for them.
I think he might have been if he would have done the first interview at the time first interviews were being done, and the second interview at the same. I don't think they were going to wait 2 more weeks
No,
to
he
delay
dropped out.
the process
He dropped out
for
on
him.
the league. Yeah.
He dropped out on the league.
Yeah, which is reflective on some sense to where you're at. Like if it's an amazing job and you have a chance for it, you probably do find time for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so look, that reflective is the
We'll say
perfect
2
word.
hits in a jab.
2 hits and 3 jabs. I mean, you wanted to be one of the teams that Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel wanted on your list, and you definitely were not. So I was going to use 2 of your terms.
Brady was a haymaker, though.
Being reflective and being fair. If in any way we sound like we're being nice to the Saints have a lousy job, and the league showed us that. There was a level of candidate who didn't even bother coming here. There was a level of candidate who could have had this job and didn't want it. There was a level of candidate who didn't even want to interview for it because they were like, I'm going to wait for better jobs that come open next cycle. 100% this coaching cycle showed us that the Saints have a less than desirable head coaching job. So their candidates were whittled down to the people who were interested in taking it. That doesn't mean they botched it. It just means this wasn't a great job to start with, and that limits your pool of candidates.
And
no doubt about it.
They still got to land the plane here. Like there is still a very, there's a possibility they don't land the plane here, and if they do not land this plane, like that is just full on just panic, mayhem, burn it down, all that. Like at that point, if this is your choice, if Kellen Moore is the choice, and they cannot land this plane, like that is a disgusting disgusting situation. But look, no, this has not been a good process. And yeah, I mean, it just hasn't been a good process. Like we already wrote the scathing piece and all that stuff. Like Joe Brady was a haymaker. I feel like Aaron Glenn was a hit in the eye, and then everything else was just kind of, body shots. But it is what it is. If you get it right, you found a way to win the fight, you win the fight. And if you didn't and you get knocked out, you got knocked out. And then the process is terrible and it is ugly. And everything that went wrong was, indicative of future mayhem and future incompetence and all that stuff. And let's just see if they get it right. I mean, that's really just where it's at this point. But yeah, I think 2 real misses and then, a couple other things that kind of happen. But when you win 5 games and people are dropping out and you aren't getting your candidates and, people are pissed about everything is bad. So I get it, and we'll just see if they got it right. I mean, that's really where it's at this point. I'm not trying to just, continue to bathe in the same narrative. Like, let's see if they hire this guy and see if it works.